I have just arrived back from a 16-day transatlantic repositioning cruise. I left Florida and ended in Southampton, England. And in this video, I'm going to share my very first experience on a transatlantic cruise and what you can do if you want to go on a cruise where there's going to be multiple days at sea and you're wondering, am I going to be bored? You're going to want to stay to the end of this video because I can tell you it is not always smooth sailing, and I have the video to prove it. If you're new to this channel, I am not an expert on cruising by any means. I'm actually a solo nomad traveler. My husband had passed away, and I didn't like living all by myself in a home with all of the memories. And so I made a decision to sell everything. And 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, I hit the road to see the world and create new memories. I invite you to hit that subscribe button and list any comments or questions that you have down below. It's what helps me be able to create content that you care about the most. For this cruise, I was on Princess Cruise Lines. Not only was it my first transatlantic cruise, it was also my first time on a Princess cruise ship, and I want to give a shout out to them. They made it an unbelievable experience. The staff was amazing. The food was amazing. Our cruise director was named Allie. I hope somebody from Princess Cruise Lines watches this. And I mean, a huge shout out to Allie. It was like she was everywhere on the ship, entertaining us, making us feel at home. And I truly had a great experience for my first cruise on Princess. This cruise was 16 days, and we had 11 days at sea before we started stopping at a few different ports. Here is the really cool thing that I learned about transatlantic cruising. There is a ton of stuff that you can do. Cruise lines have thousands of passengers, and they need to keep us all happy. And so they provide a ton of different activities that I'll go through. One of the nice things is that every night when I returned to my cabin, there was a schedule, and I'll put a copy of that schedule here. It was both front and back of all of the activities that were available to us the following day. And if you didn't want to carry around that piece of paper, there was also an app on the phone. And with that app, not only could you communicate with other cruisers, but you could access the schedule, you could get a layout of the ship, you could find out what the restaurants were serving for dinner. And so whether you're referring to a paper schedule or the app, it kept you plugged into all the different things that you could do on board the ship. First, you can go shopping. Personally, I'm not a big shopper. I did walk through some of the different shops just so that I could kind of look at various things. So there were jewelry stores, clothing stores, there's an art gallery with art for sale, and honestly, there was so many different things that you could occupy yourself with if you are someone who loves to shop. The second thing is you can learn stuff. On our particular ship, there was a man named Bill. He would talk about aviation, and Bill was a wealth of knowledge, and he made some of the nerdiest topics and what some people might think would be super boring subject matter. He made it so interesting. And so I love listening to Bill. And then after he was done speaking, there would be another speaker who would come on stage and talk about the upcoming port days. And each port had a dedicated day. And he would talk about the history of the area, some of the highlights of the area, some of the different excursions you might consider if you haven't already booked something. And if you didn't want to do an excursion, where is the best place to walk around? And if it's not right at the terminal, what's the best way to get to the town or the place where you would want to walk around and sightsee? Along the lines of learning, there are also cooking lessons, there are wine pairing opportunities, there are dance classes. They had speakers on health and wellness, anti-aging, skincare, weight loss. There were a whole bunch of different experts. And again, on the schedule, you could see what room these experts would be talking about these various things. So if you're someone who loves to learn, you can definitely learn a lot on a cruise ship. Another favorite of mine was meeting and listening to the officers of the ship. And we got to meet and have a Q&A session with the captain of the ship, with the main chef of the ship, the entertainment director, the chief mechanical officer. And they would tell their story of how they came up through the ranks, how they learned their trade and became experts in what they do. And then they would always answer some questions. And I have to say, it was fascinating listening to these various officers and the enormous responsibility they have on board a cruise ship. I'm sure you've heard this before, but another thing you can do on a cruise ship is eat. All the food is included. And of course, if you're going to be eating that much, you also might want to be working out a little bit. There are a whole bunch of different activities. They have some different sporting things like pickleball. They had a golf driving range. There's a running track. There's a weight room with all the weights and aerobic equipment. And there's also classes. They had aerobic classes, dance classes, and Zumba, yoga, you name it. And the classes usually were like at 9 in the morning, so you could get up, you could go get some exercise, and then feel good about eating the rest of the day. For some people, they come on board a cruise simply because they want to relax. And there are plenty of places on board the ship where you can lay by the pool, you can find a comfy chair and curl up with a book, you can visit the spa for any one of their treatments or a massage. You can find a seat where you can just sit and look at the massive ocean that we're crossing. And you can do that either from a private balcony, or there were tons of places on the ship where you can just sit and admire this vast amount of water that we were sailing through. There's also a variety of activities on board the ship, like trivia, bingo, karaoke, name that tune. They had like a Newlywoods style game, and those are usually done like with a large group in one of the, it was called like the live broadcast room, and they're a whole lot of fun. I mean, tons of laughs. So if you don't like to laugh, don't be going to one of those big group things, but they were really, really fun. If you don't want to be inside of big crowds and you just want to kind of have a quiet time with friends or family, one of the restaurants had a whole bunch of board games and table games and cards. And so I would walk through there and I would see lots of people just with their friends and family, just having a nice afternoon playing games. Also, the library had a massive table, and quite often I would see a few people gathered around the table putting together a puzzle. You can also head off to the casino to gamble. I didn't personally gamble, but one of the friends that I met on board the ship, she loves hanging out in the casinos, and because she gambles so much, she would say that she gets tons of complimentary cruises. And I didn't want to ask her, but it's like, are these cruises really complimentary, or did you put a whole lot of money into the casino? And so it's kind of offsetting the free cruise. So I guess if you're lucky in the casino, you're not only going to have your winnings, but you also get comped cruises. And if you're not so lucky, then I guess the consolation prize for not winning at the casino is you get a complimentary cruise. Also noted in the schedule are lots of different meetups for different types of groups for like-minded individuals. So I participated in the solo cruisers meetups for the first several nights until I kind of matched up with some other people. And by the way, there is another video on this channel where I talk about my solo cruise experience. One of my absolute favorite things to do was every night they would have a performance happening. And there were two different theaters. There was a smaller one at one end of the ship, And then there was the main theater at the other end of the ship. They both had incredible acts, and the cruise ship brought in musical talent. They brought in incredible singers and keyboardists and a violin player, and they would bring in magicians and illusionists, Broadway type productions, comedians, and I never missed any one of these. Maybe there's a few that I missed only because I was in one theater while it was happening in another, but I tried every night to hit as many of these acts as I could because they truly were top-notch acts. And then after the theater, and by the way, if you don't want to sit through any sort of a theater type production, up on the top deck, they had a massive, huge screen TV, and they were showing different movies every night. So if you want to just go up and watch a movie, you could just go up to the top deck, relax, and watch a movie. And then afterwards, you can listen to music, you can dance. They would always have live bands in the piazza, and the live band usually played until midnight. And then there was also a lounge that had a DJ and a dance floor. So whether you want kind of a smaller, intimate environment, or you want to be out on the main dance floor dancing to the live bands were incredible. And so you could dance the night away when you're done with the shows. Here's what I would say. In the 11 days that we were at sea, there was not one moment where I felt bored. Even when I was in the laundry room doing laundry, this ship happened to have a laundry, which was amazing. And I visited it toward the end of the cruise, and I think a lot of other people had that idea as well. So it was really nice to meet a few other passengers inside the laundry room to kill some time. And then also, speaking of visiting with other people, it's really easy to meet people on a cruise ship, whether you're at a shared dining table and you get to meet new people, the individuals you sit next to in the various shows or in some of the different activities. Everyone is so nice. And for me, it was an opportunity not only to learn about them and what they do and where they're from, but also what are some of the different places that they visited and some of the different cruises they've been on, because you'll find a lot of the people on cruise ships, this isn't their first rodeo. They've been traveling a long time to a lot of places. So it was awesome for me as a solo nomad to be able to get some ideas for future cruises and future destinations. Just in case you're wondering, am I going to get seasick on a ship? Well, here's the thing. They have lots of stabilizers and balancers, and for the most part, cruise ships are very stable. However, if you get into some stormy weather, yes, you can have choppy waters, you can have big swells, and it's not always smooth sailing. When we got into some stormy weather, I realized this is going to be a little bit of a rough ride when I started seeing barf bags showing up in every single elevator, at the end of every single stairwell. I think they were in our rooms, and it's like, okay, there's barf bags. And it was already starting to rock and roll a little bit. It's like, okay, I think we're going to have a little bit of time with some rough seas. And later we learned that we were going through 20 to 30 foot swells. And I'm going to put a video. This video is of the pool area. Now, eventually they completely drained it, but I wanted to see what the pool looked like when the ship was rocking as much as it was. And so this is a video of that. And it was pretty fun walking around because everyone looked like they had had a little bit too much to drink. So whether they actually had or if they were just trying to stay upright with all of the rocking and rolling of the ship, we all were just kind of staggering down the aisles. I'm going to be doing some more videos about cruising. In fact, I have another cruise coming up in another month. That's going to be 21 days. I also share some of my different adventures of the destinations where I travel to. And again, I share my journey through grief. And if you'd like to be notified anytime I post a new video, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. I invite you also to post some comments down below. If you've done a transatlantic cruise, what are some of your favorite things to do on a cruise ship? If I've missed something, And what was your experience? Did you enjoy a lot of sea days, or do you prefer cruises where there are a lot of ports? With that, I'm going to wrap it up. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.